Imagine this. A weary mother, hands raw from endless scrubbing, clutches her wide-eyed little girl in a mansion that could swallow her tiny apartment whole. She whispers, "Stay close, my love. We'll get through this day." But as they step into the echoing halls, a shadow looms from the study door. A man whose single glance will shatter their world forever. What happens next? Hold on tight, because one act of kindness is about to rewrite their destiny. She woke before dawn that morning, the kind of grey light that seeps through cracked blinds like an unwelcome guest. Her back ached from the night before, a dull throb that never quite faded, a reminder of the endless cycle: scrub, rinse, repeat. At 42, she felt twice that age, her once vibrant spirit worn thin by years of bending low, literally and figuratively. Life hadn't always been this way. Once, she'd dreamed of college, of a career that didn't leave her knees bruised and her dreams deferred. But dreams have a way of crumbling under the weight of reality, especially when that reality includes a child who needs you more than anything. Her daughter was 8, all knobby knees and boundless curiosity, with eyes that sparkled like the stars she loved to count on clear nights from their fire escape. That girl was her anchor, her reason to push through the exhaustion, to smile through the sting of minimum wage that barely covered rent and ramen. But today was different. The school called late last night, flew sweeping through the classrooms like a thief, no spots left in aftercare. Her sitter, an elderly neighbor with her own battles, had bowed out weeks ago. Options? None. So with a knot in her stomach tighter than a clenched fist, she made the call to her agency. "I have to bring her today, please, just this once." The response was curt, laced with the indifference of someone who'd never had to choose between a paycheck and a child's safety. "Fine, but keep her out of sight. The client doesn't like surprises." Surprises. As if her life wasn't one long string of them. The sudden layoff from the factory job 5 years back. The medical bills that piled up like autumn leaves after her girl's asthma flared. The eviction notice that forced them into a one-room walk-up where the walls seemed to whisper doubts in the quiet hours. She dressed quickly, pulling on the faded uniform that hung loose on her frame, the one with the faint bleach stains she could never quite scrub out. Her daughter helped, tiny hands fumbling with the buttons, chattering about the book she'd read under the covers last night, a tale of a brave orphan who found a family in the unlikeliest place. "Maybe today will be like that, Mama," she said, her voice a fragile thread of hope. If only she knew. The bus ride to the estate was a blur of rattling windows and weary faces, the city skyline giving way to manicured suburbs where lawns stretched like green oceans and houses loomed like silent giants. This mansion was her third client that week, a sprawling beast of marble and glass perched on a hill overlooking the bay. She'd been cleaning here for 6 months now, slipping in twice a week like a ghost, polishing silver that no one used, dusting shelves lined with books whose spines were unbroken. The owner? A mystery wrapped in tailored suits and fleeting glimpses. Tech mogul, they said at the agency, built an empire from code and ambition worth millions, maybe more. But to her, he was just the boss, a figure who signed her checks without a word, his presence as rare as warmth in her pockets. They arrived at 7:45 sharp, the wrought iron gates swinging open with a mechanical hum that echoed her pounding heart. She held Hoshi, her daughter's hand tight as they crunched up the gravel drive, the little one's sneakers scuffing softly, her backpack slung over one shoulder like a shield. "Remember, sweetie, quiet as a mouse. We'll play a game. Spot the hidden treasures while I work." The girl nodded solemnly, but her eyes widened at the sight of the house, fountains bubbling like laughter, windows tall as doorways, promising adventures in every shadow. Inside, the air was cool and scented with lemon polish and something richer, like aged leather and success. She led the way to the service entrance, past the kitchen where counters gleamed under recessed lights, avoiding the main halls where footsteps might betray them. But fate, that capricious weaver, had other plans. As they turned the corner into the vast living room, vaulted ceilings soaring like a cathedral, Persian rugs soft as clouds underfoot, a floorboard creaked. Not just any creak, a sharp, betraying snap that ricocheted off the walls. Her daughter froze, a small gasp escaping her lips. Too late. From the adjoining study, heavy with the scent of polished oak and unspoken power, came the sound of a chair scraping back. Footsteps, deliberate, unhurried. Her heart slammed against her ribs like a caged bird. This was it. The end of the job? Maybe worse. Whispers at the agency, blacklisting, the slow bleed of what little stability they had. She pulled her girl behind her, a human barrier, whispering frantic prayers under her breath. The door swung open, and there he stood. Tall, broad-shouldered, in a crisp white shirt rolled to the elbows, sleeves revealing forearms etched with the faint scars of a life less polished than his home. Mid-40s, perhaps, with salt and pepper hair that spoke of battles won in boardrooms, eyes sharp as the edge of a deal about to close. He wasn't angry, not at first, just surprised. His gaze flicked from her flushed, deaky face to the child peeking out, all wide eyes and trembling lip. The silence stretched, taut as a wire, each second dripping with the weight of unspoken judgments. Would he yell, call security, dock her pay for this breach of invisible rules? Instead, he tilted his head, a faint furrow creasing his brow. "Who's this?" His voice was deep, measured, like the rumble of distant thunder, not threatening, but commanding attention all the same. She swallowed hard, her throat dry as dust. My daughter, sir. School emergency. I had no choice. I'll keep her out of your way, I swear. She won't touch a thing." The words tumbled out, laced with the desperation she'd fought to bury, her hands twisting the hem of her apron like a lifeline. Her girl clutched her leg, silent now, but the fear in those young eyes, it twisted something deep inside her, a mother's ache that no amount of grit could dull. He stepped closer, not in anger but curiosity, crouching down to the child's level with a grace that belied his stature. The room seemed to hold its breath. Up close, she noticed the lines around his eyes, not from laughter but something heavier, like regrets etched in fine print. "Hello there," he said softly, his tone shifting like sunlight breaking through clouds. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated, glancing up for permission, then whispered it so faintly it was almost lost in the hum of the air conditioning. He smiled then, a real one, crinkling the corners of his mouth, and extended a hand. "Well, it's a pleasure. I'm the guy who owns all these dusty old books. Ever read The Secret Garden?" Her daughter's face lit up like a struck match, the fear melting into wonder. "Yes, Mary finds the key, and everything blooms," he chuckled, a warm sound that filled the space, easing the tension coiled in her chest. "Smart kid. That's my favorite part too, the magic in the hidden places." He straightened, turning to her with an expression she couldn't quite read, part assessment, part something softer, unguarded. "You know, I don't bite, and neither do the ghosts in this house. Why do? Ain't you both come in? Coffee's on in the kitchen. Black, right? And hot chocolate for the little explorer?" It was an offer laced with normalcy, but beneath it simmered something electric, a current of possibility she dared not name. She nodded mutely, her mind racing, protocol shattered, yet here they were, trailing him through halls that suddenly felt less like a labyrinth and more like a threshold. The kitchen was a marvel, granite islands vast as tabletops, a fridge humming with promise. He busied himself at the espresso machine, sleeves pushed higher, revealing a watch that probably cost more than her yearly rent. As steam hissed and mugs clinked, he asked about her. Simple things, the kind no one ever did. How long had she been cleaning? What did she do before? Did she like the work? She answered haltingly at first, words guarded like treasures hoarded against thieves. But his questions weren't interrogations. They were invitations, drawing out fragments of her story. The factory closure that left her adrift, the nights piecing together odd jobs while her girl slept fitfully beside her, the quiet pride in teaching her daughter to read by flashlight when the power flickered out. Her voice cracked on the part about the asthma attacks, the emergency room visits that drained their savings like sand through fingers. "We make do," she said finally, forcing a smile as she sipped the coffee, rich, bold, worlds away from the instant crystals at home. "Always have. She's my everything. I'd scrub 1,000 floors for her." Her daughter, emboldened by the chocolate mustache now dusting her upper lip, piped up from her perch on a bar stool. "Mama's the strongest person I know. She makes stories up when we're scared, about knights and dragons." The man leaned against the counter, arms crossed, but his eyes, oh, those eyes, held a storm of their own. Suspense hung in the air like meat, just unspoken histories flickering behind his gaze. He nodded slowly, as if weighing invisible scales. "Strength like that? It's rarer than you think. Most people break under half the load. The morning unfolded in fits and starts after that. her tackling the upstairs bathrooms with their daughter trailing like a shadow, pointing out treasures in the artwork on the walls. A painting of crashing waves that reminded her of beach trips they'd never taken. A sculpture of twisted metal that looked like a dragon's claw. Laughter echoed faintly, a sound foreign in these polished spaces. But as noon approached, the idyll fractured. A phone buzzed in his pocket, insistent, pulling him back to the study with a murmured apology. "Deadline," he explained, the weight of the words settling like dust. She caught glimpses through the cracked door, papers shuffling, voice rising in clipped commands, the empire calling its king. By 1 p.m. her shift was winding down, the floors gleaming, linens folded with military precision. She gathered their things in the foyer, her daughter yawning now, the adventure's thrill giving way to drooping lids. Gratitude swelled in her chest, mingled with the familiar pang of parting. The bus wait, the long ride home to reality. "Thank you, sir," she said, pausing at the study door. "For understanding. It means more than you know." He looked up from his screensaver flickering with code that danced like fireflies. For a beat, silence reigned, heavy with the unsaid. Then, he stood, crossing the room in 3 strides, a folder in hand. Manila, unassuming, but it might as well have been forged in gold. "Wait," he said, his voice low, threaded with an emotion she couldn't place. Regret? Resolve? He handed it over, his fingers brushing hers, warm against her calloused skin. "Open it later, with her." She stared, pulse thundering. "Sir, I—" But he waved it off, a ghost of that earlier smile returning. "Call me by my first name, and consider this, not a tip, a beginning." The door opened then, sunlight slanting in like a benediction, and he watched. At them go, his figure silhouetted against the grand staircase, a sentinel in his own kingdom. The bus home was torture, the folder burning a hole in her lap like a secret too heavy to hold. Her daughter dozed against her shoulder, soft breaths, a lullaby amid the rumble. "Don't open it now," she told herself. "Not here, amid strangers' stares and the city's indifferent roar." But suspense clawed at her insides, a whirlwind of what-ifs. A warning letter? A bonus check? Reprimand for the intrusion? Her mind spun tales darker than any dragon. Lost job, eviction looming, her girl's future snuffed like a candle. Tears pricked her eyes unbidden, hot tracks down cheeks roughened by wind and worry. How many times had she lain awake, bargaining with the stars for just one break, one door not slammed in her face? They stumbled into their apartment at dusk, the single bulb casting long shadows over peeling wallpaper and a kitchen table scarred by too many meals. She locked the door, bolted it twice, safety in ritual, then sank onto the sagging couch, her daughter curled beside her, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "What's that, Mama? A map to treasure?" The innocence in that question cracked her open, spilling the pent-up ache of years. The father who'd walked out when she was pregnant, leaving echoes of abandonment. The jobs that chewed her up and spat her out. The fierce, feral love that kept her fighting when surrender whispered sweet nothings. "Maybe, baby. Let's see." Hands trembling, she slid the folder open. Inside, not ledgers or lectures, but papers crisp as new snow. A check, staggering in its zeros, enough to cover rent for a year, medical bills settled in full, a savings bond for her daughter's education, blooming like that secret garden into a fund for college, for dreams unchained. And a note handwritten, ink bold and unhesitating. "Strength recognizes strength. You've polished more than my flaws today. You've reminded me what matters. Use this to build, not just survive, and bring her back anytime. The dragons could use more allies." The room blurred through tears, sobs racking her frame, raw, cathartic, the kind that hollow you out and fill you anew. Her daughter gasped, then giggled, tracing the numbers with a finger. "We're rich, Mama, like in the stories." But it wasn't the money, not really. It was the gesture, that seismic shift from invisible to seen, from burden to blessing. In that moment, the weight of solitary struggles lifted, replaced by a warmth that spread like dawn. Possibility, partnership with the universe, proof that kindness could cascade like dominoes toppling toward grace. Word of the gift rippled quietly, agency buzzing, neighbors nodding in hushed awe, but she kept the core sacred, a talisman against future storms. With it, she enrolled her girl in after-school art classes, the kind where paint flew free and imagination reigned. She cut back hours, daring to chase a certification in early childhood education, nights now lit by textbooks instead of despair. And the mansion? It became more than a job, a haven where her daughter sketched dragons on napkins during breaks, and the man, now a friend, confidant, shared stories of his own hidden scars. The divorce that left him hollow in his hollowed empire, the loneliness of success that echoed louder than applause. Months blurred into a tapestry of transformation. Her posture straightened, not from pride alone, but from the unbowed knowledge that she was worthy. Of rest, of respect, of a future sketched in her own hand. Her daughter flourished, asthma managed with checkups they could afford, laughter ringing brighter than before. And the man? He found in them a family of sorts, holidays marked by shared tables where hot chocolate flowed and tales wove tighter than blood. But here's the deeper truth. The fact that lingers like a heartbeat. In 2023 alone, over 10 million single mothers in America juggled jobs paying less than a living wage. Their resilience, a quiet revolution against odds stacked like skyscrapers. Stories like this aren't anomalies. They're sparks, reminders that one gesture, born of empathy, can ignite chains of change. Poverty isn't just numbers, it's the thief that steals childhoods, dreams deferred like overripe fruit. Yet kindness, it's the antidote, the force that levels mountains, proves we're all threads in the same vast cloth. So let this be your call to arms, your whisper in the dark. Look closer at the hands that serve you, the eyes that hide oceans of untold stories. Extend a hand, not from pity, but partnership. Because in lifting another, you reclaim pieces of yourself long lost. Imagine the gardens will grow, the dragons will slay, if only we choose to see. You've got that power, right now, in this breath. Use it. Build it. Become the gesture that changes everything. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that remind us of our shared humanity. Turn on notifications. We've got dragons to conquer together.